I had it sculpted. See what I did there? Which is a bunch of corrections to the neck. Brought his stomach out a bit wider apparently. So that's the geometry as I had it sculpted. I projected the other detail. The main thing I want to keep though, but this other detail is that this is my low poly geometry as well. So I'm gonna need to. There's gonna be some work need to be done to sew this head, which still needs to be retopologized, and this body all together, but won't be so bad. Now let's show this head. Do another morph target. Delete. Store. Got a morph target again. Let's project this head detail. And I'll morph it back. See you later. Hold on. And as you can see, I painted these very different times from each other. So I'll need to do some paints, which is always fun. I like doing the poly paint. So I'll probably spray paint this transition and get the head more matching the body there. What's up for the time now? Pretty sure I don't need this one anymore. Yeah, I can delete that. Delete that one. Can delete that. I'm just trying to tidy up some stuff here. This is the old belt that I don't need anymore either, I don't think. Okay. And you know what? I'm also going to get rid of the tassels because I don't think I'm going to do tassels on this one. Crazy, I know, but I think Stan looks better without his tassels in this version of the skin. You know, I don't think the stream crashed. I think what happens is when I'm doing a big polygon operation like that, I think it just locks the computer up and the stream can't get frames out because the computer's all locked up. I think that's what happens there. Alright, I'm gonna fill this object. I think a nice navy blue is good for the belt. Fill with mRGB, skin shade, fill object. Too saturated. Now these pieces. I don't have these combined. Yeah. Plates, let's fill these with a nice metal. I think I have a nice gold in here somewhere. Yeah, that's a great gold. Yeah. Not this color for some reason. That's good looking gold. Yeah, I think when I start adding some gold to the rest of the palette, it's gonna look a lot better. I have a nice leather as well. Crease these edges down here. Oops. Crease. Activate symmetry. Boo boo. Uncrease those edges. There we go. I've got to do a little bit of work here to sort of marry that zipper, these polys here. Got some work to do on the old, how do you get your shadow colors on the character? So what do you mean? Like, I try, you don't want to paint with color, or with shadow. Like, you know, for example, you see this little like natural shadow created by this part of his leg, right? I wouldn't want to be in my paintbrush here. Because this is going into a photoreal renderer, I wouldn't want to, like, say, have like a dark brown. Sorry, 1 second here. Okay. Like, see how I have this like dark shadow color here? You know, a lot of times artists will come in and they'll paint some additional shadow into their meshes. You know, it gives that nice little sort of highlights the bicep or the, you know, muscle group look. I don't do that all that often because this is all going into an engine that does some of that for me. You know, when you're in a photoreal lighting model, you get a lot of those effects for free because it's going to try and highlight things like ambient occlusion and you know, put, you know, and that being said, you know, what I'm doing right now though, you know, maybe like 10% of it does go a long way, because if you create those additional pops, you don't want to get out of hand with it, because then you get like way too stylized and I'm going for a more realistic look. But you know, like, yeah, obviously you see like, it creates a little bit of pop. Those muscle groups are a little bit more defined now. But that's a stylistic choice. You want to basically be, you know, don't get carried away with it, but like maybe it's what you want. Like Street Fighter is a good example. Street Fighter 5 is an extremely over-the-top, exaggerated look, and people really seem to gravitate to that. And it's like, you know, clearly a conscious decision. Those guys could do hardcore realistic anatomy if they wanted to, and realistic shaders and photoreal humans the way a lot of games are doing. But you know, that's the more hand-painted look right there. What's up, Pixel Dread? Let me rewind this a little bit here because I don't obviously want to keep that. What you're talking about is these, like, that's not shadow though. If you say shadow, you mean like, you know, the absence of light. But you're talking about these different hues of color here, and that's just a matter of using, like, I have skin color spray, and this is just if I want to start coloring the head, for example, which I do because like these colors are a little bit too different from each other, right? So let's say I start coloring the head. sorry, let me go back to this. Okay, so now I'm on this. I've got my skin color spray. You see that color variation there? The skin color spray brush has a little bit of color variety. So I'll pick a good base color. Like a lot of times what I'll do when I'm painting a new head, I'll pick a good base color. And I'll lay down some undertone that are just in the hue that I like. You know, I know that this tone works for the head that I'm going for. If I shrink the brush size down, I'm gonna get more of a look of like, you know, pores, right? The smaller that brush is, the more like the kind of porous look you'll get. But a lot of times what I'll do is, because your skin underneath is, you know, dark, I'll start real dark like this, you know, with the color variation that comes with it. In this case, I want to take my smooth brush and turn off Z-add so I can just smooth away colored information. Now get that same brush, get back into skin color spray, and just layer in the color over time. You know, nice and light to begin. And then I start really kind of popping in the areas that I know will have a lot of light and a lot of like skin definition. You know, and eventually, you know, it gets pretty bright, and you have, you know, matching colors to the other parts of the body. But as you're doing it slowly, you're letting some of those details to kind of remain present and show through. You know, areas like the ear are a good example because the edges of the ear have a lot of subsurface scattering on them. And already the kind of head's starting to come through and it matches the rest of the body. And, you know, it's just a matter of like anywhere it looks a little too blood-like and purplish, I need to just paint that away. And every now and then it's just a matter of, oh, I'll just grab a nice color from here. Slowly but surely I'll take out that still allows me to leave kind of some areas that have like, oh, like maybe at certain angles, like you pick up some of that. Areas of the skin that don't have as much pigment, you know, would show through to where the blood is. So now I'm painting it back quite gradually. Now it kind of looks like some of those veins are popping a little bit. Another thing you can do is grab an alpha. There's like a veiny alpha. Is that the one? That's the one. See what that brush is doing? Oh, what a good time to do like a crazy like volcanic face dude. You know? I've actually got a concept of Stanton where he's like pitch black and he's got like these energy coils all over his body. sent that to Jay in case Jay thinks it's cool. But yeah, I hope that kind of shows what I mean though about the polypaints. I think like, you kind of get where I'm coming from there. Let me reset all my brushes. Go back to the skin color spray. Change the color back to, sort of lighter. Yeah, you want to just keep it nice and small. You don't want to be too. I can get pretty impatient and haphazard with it. If you look at necks and stuff, tend to be a little bit more rosy and blood colored because there's very little room between the skin and the arteries. There's not a lot of muscle and stuff breaking that up. See, there's some nice variation there. Might get a little bit brighter brown. Punch up the chin a little bit, and the area over here where you'd have a little bit of that. But yeah, so a lot of that variation you're seeing where it's like selecting different color, a lot of that's me placing down variation. But it's also, like I showed you, it's the built-in color variation on the brush. Which again, if you go into spray, you also have color spray, which is a different stroke. That's less color intensity variance for some ridiculous reason. But like you see the hue moves a lot more. It moves to all kinds of different like oranges and pinks and blue, like all parts of the spectrum. Well, I'm glad that's helpful for you though. That's good to hear that that worked, or that's something that you might be able to draw something out from. I'm just doing a little bit. I like doing this a lot actually. It's very rewarding doing the poly paint. It's just, you start to see results right away. You know, he's got a pretty aggressive palette. I mean, like, I tend to like, this is not necessarily realistic, the amount of detail he has, or sorry, the amount of color variance he has isn't exactly realistic, but I think it looks a lot better, draws the eye more, as long as it's not distracting. That's how I prefer to do it. And actually the base sculpt is done from a, what in the world? Is that missing geometry? What is that? That's supposed to be from the projection. It's not even the same material. Smooth brush the intensity, let's take back down. Done a little white patch here from the projection that I need to address. That's just a matter of changing the material and laying down some color. Looks like I found a little bit more over here by his neck. Oh no, that's just a light. That's just a highlight. Oops. Okay. Does it do metallic? Oh yeah, so you can paint with metallic colors. Like these little things over here are painting with material and RGB, or painting with RGB. So if I wanted to start, this is like a good, this will be fun. Let's make a, let's start painting in some cyborg metal. So I'll make this mRGB. I'll pick a new material to paint with. This is a good matte cap metal. I'll make it. So his name is Stan, this character, right? So maybe like his name is metallic carved, and you can also, I mean, this is also Stan. you know, I could be doing this as well, and you'll notice, see, it's a different material. If I gave myself a little bit of Z intensity. Now I'm taking metallic geo off of his body, and I could, you know, make this a spray. Crazy color variance, or not as much of a. Now it's just doing a color variance with metals. So yeah, you can do all that with as described. I DynaMeshed my model before. I think it's after working an hour, so my model is 16 million polys. My DynaMesh button is turned off for some reason. So when I click on the DynaMesh button, it drops my model polygon to 4 million. If I try to change it, there's how to back, it's dropping to 4 million. Sure. Okay. There are solutions to that. You need to DynaMesh, but the DynaMesh can't go above 16 million. That would probably take super long anyway. Like even doing a couple million takes a really long time. So doing like that times 8. Hold on a second. I thought my wife was calling me. Yeah, you can do the fill, Reggie. So let me try to answer 3D Gamblers questions here. So there is one thing. I wonder if HD geometry might help you there. No. You can certainly work with models up to 16 million, but it starts to push the boundaries. I mean, usually like you have 32 million split across subtools. The best way I would tackle that problem, this might not be very helpful for you because your model might not be allowed this, is I would try to, is it possible, Gambler, to split your mesh up into different subtools and kind of conquer it bit by bit? Because I don't know that I've ever seen a DynaMesh work at 16 million polygons. I think that would be outside the bounds. The main thing you'll want to do is your problem is you don't want to lose that geo that is 16 million polygons, right? So this one, this character, let me say where we're at right now. This bust is 700,000 polygons, right? So I've added a bunch of detail. I want to get a low resolution version of it back. So I would duplicate it off, which I've just done. This is the duplicate version now. Delete lower. Say I DynaMesh this down to, you know, 400. So now it's down to 7,500, or I ZRemesh myself down to, you know, 5,000. You can't split it up. It can be done. You just have to wait for a really long projection and be ready to clean up issues. So this is taken down now to 7,000. But this is all the geo on the previous mesh that I really want. I got to get all that geo back, all the great eyes, everything. This will take a little bit of doing because you're gonna have, you know, different geo. It's all gonna change. If you do a DynaMesh versus ZRemesher, it might be a little bit easier. Like say you DynaMesh it down at 74,000. DynaMesh it down to say. Go lower. I'm trying to get this DynaMesh to. Oh, I know why I haven't made any Z changes, because my. Sorry, 1 sec. Let me fix my smooth here. Go lower. Good gosh. There it goes. My golly. Alright. So I DynaMeshed it down to say, you know, something that brutal, right? That's like how to get DynaMesh to a certain position. You get the detail back, duplicate it off, DynaMesh it down, and then geometry. Sorry, no, it's gonna be a subtool. Subtool, project, project all. Contains polypaint data, sure. Project the polypaint. Subdivide, project all, and then get yourself. I mean, just DynaMesh it down to a low poly, and then project all your detail back with project. The only way you're gonna get, the only way you're not gonna lose detail is to use the projection tools. And you know, I'm doing it now at 500,000, and it's pretty fast. Yeah, this is gonna chug for a while. And then you get to the point where, you know, you've got some things to clean up, but if you clean those issues up, then you can get all the way back up to the resolution you want. So I think that like just projecting more and more from a duplicate will get you back to the place you are with the detail. Hopefully that's helpful. I mean, yeah, once you get that big, you start getting pretty unwieldy. Okay, delete this duplicate. But yeah, getting a low resolution duplicate and projecting your high resolution detail back, and during your projections you want to sort of smooth away, sculpt away, fix the issues as they happen. Morph target helps a lot at that point, because you can use morph target to store where things were before you did a projection. Then if your projection goes awry, you can take the morph brush and you'll brush out the areas that changed. Controlling your projection blur, your distance, all those things might also help with how you do it. But that's going from like low to high and back again. That's how I would do it. I would work with that thing specifically. All right, so let's bring some of these pieces of geo back. Hide that. Hide that. I can hide this. It looks like everything else is about there. All right. So now we can start filling out colors again, because I do think I have some work to do with understanding this guy's palette and where things are going to be. Do I have a good leather? It's like a little brownish leather. Fill mRGB for this object. Yeah, now we're getting there. Fill object. Well, I mean, so what's your question? Like, the PC can handle it, but ZBrush can't? I mean, ZBrush can't handle it, so I mean, what, like, it's pretty much end of discussion, right? ZBrush can't do that many polygons. Unless there's some way, and maybe I could be wrong, unless there's some way in which ZBrush actually does, like, allow a greater poly count, which I'm not familiar with that being, I don't believe that's the case. But, you know, I could be wrong on that. I mean, ZRemesher can, yeah, exactly, Sir Anubis is right. Sir Anubis is correct. Like, DynaMesh is more for, like, having dynamic geo is very helpful when you're moving things around. You gotta remember, though, you're gonna run out. You're gonna run out of resolution at some point if you're trying to go DynaMesh for your full. Like, you're trying to DynaMesh and keep all your detail in your DynaMesh with 16 million polygons. That's like probably a little. That's probably like not how to. That's like how it's not. It's not intended to be used that way. But you know, you could DynaMesh it to 1 million or 2 million polygons and then subdivide and project. That'd be the only way to get your detail back. But then you'd have like subdivision levels, which is, I mean, that's fine. You know, it's really, if your problem is you don't want those subdivision levels, you know, the order of operations and when you do your low versus your high is all you have to worry about there. Hey, what's up, Ashley? How you doing? So now is an interesting bit. I don't have an exact plan for how I want. I know I want his leather jacket, and I want like leather jacket, leather trousers, so to speak. You know, his boots though, probably black leather here, I think. Drag over and grab that color, drag over, grab that material. Let's fill the boots, I guess, with black. Start there. Is the Z-Modeler brush a must-have to know how it works to work efficiently in ZBrush? Not necessarily. It's irreplaceable for me because in games I use a lot of low poly stuff. Like I'm already gonna have this low poly right there that I got at a ZRemesher is already ready for me to take in a game engine. I can come in with QModeler brush, ZModeler brush, and insert edge loops or remove edge loops as needed, and that's why it's like irreplaceable for me. But I mean, you know, ask Ashley. I mean, Ashley, she doesn't need it very much. She's sculpting very, very high quality work, but she's not doing a lot of low polygon operations. She doesn't need to. So while I'm sure she can use it just fine, she doesn't need to use it all that often, and she's still very effective. So the Z-Modeler brush, you know, it depends on how you need to use it. Like for making games, I'm working so often in low poly stuff that it helps for me to have it. You know, a lot of times I'll be making a base shape. Like his glasses are a really good example of that. I made his glasses just by like extracting, extruding, and sliding things out and doing all that. What's up, Bacon Bolts? Subdividing means active points times 4. I guess that would be true. You know, I'm not sure if having triangles versus cubes changes that equation at all. And this has 482 active points. Let's change that to a cube. 26. This is just 8 points. 2, 3. Well, 8 points is not equal to polygons. That's something to keep in mind. So 8 to 26. So, you know, times 4 would be 32. So it's points, not polygons. So when you know, add polygons to the thing. Come on. What on earth have I done? Oh, I said a shortcut for duplicate. I did Control-Shift-G. There's a duplicate shortcut? Oh my god! I did not know that there was a duplicate shortcut, and my life just got easier. What else in the world is there shortcuts for? Unbelievable. Yeah, see, Ashley does a lot of organic stuff, but she also obviously can pull out the hard surface tools when she needs them. The thing that I find with QModeler, I just call it QModeler because it's on my Q key, is that as soon as you start, like hard surface also implies, at least some kinds of hard surface, implies a layer of curvature. So like, if you have a shape like this, like, I'd want that part there to curve, and like, it's important to get curves right when you're doing hard surface. You know, and like, it still has it still follows those same rules of like hard surface sculpting, where if you're trying to establish curves, you really want to think about, you know, where's your forming geometry, you know, and so like that's when ZRemesher really becomes useful. Hard surface for sure. But yeah, like Ashley mentioned, like if you're doing a lot of organic stuff and you're just, you know, got yourself a little ball and DynaMesh that sucker. Start just playing around with it. You know, you can get down the organic path a lot more just without even having to ever get involved with the Z-Modeler brush. But I will say this, the Z-Modeler brush is such an effective tool, like just for getting things, you know, built quickly. Like even if you're doing organic stuff like this, I find myself being like, you know what, let's give this guy a top hat. Insert brush. Just doing these kind of things as quickly as you can is super helpful. Now he's got a little top hat there. I'll get my modeler brush out, get that going, pull that out, key mesh poly loop. Now he's got a little hat right there. Insert here, insert there. Oops. Do another one. Bring that one in a little bit. Insert here. You know, and then I just, you know, I can delete that. Sorry, subdivide that. Split unmasked points, delete, delete, delete. DynaMesh this piece. And then maybe I start chipping away at this thing and doing some organic stuff as part of, you know, it's got this, maybe it's a bowl of nachos hat, right? It's all dented up and got imperfections and stuff on it, right? So it's like, that's like when ZModeler comes in so useful when it's just like, I need some base geometry right now. It should look like some stupid little pinhead hat, and then, you know, back to the organic stuff. When you may necessarily need it as much. Do you guys remember those little like 80s cartoons? Mad Balls, I think it was called. Heard they're revitalizing that. I wish I was a part of it because that'd be a lot of fun to work on. Anyway, I need to keep all of these little 10-second 3D sketches that I do and finish them maybe. Alright, delete all to get rid of that. Just get rid of this sub tool clatter. Back to old Stanton here. Oh, nice UI. Do I have it shared somewhere? Yeah, Stargazer I do actually. This is my 1440 UI. What's my? I have a Gumroad. It's free. Here it is. That's just my 1080 one. I'm gonna be adding this 1440 one to it. Matter of fact, I think it's pretty much ready to go. I've made a few changes, and I think I haven't changed anything in this UI in weeks, so I think it's pretty much ready to go. And the only thing missing from it are the brushes, because I'm not sure where I got most of these brushes from. So if you just look at the names, I haven't changed any of the names. But I think some of them came out of paid packages, so I don't want to distribute them because I don't know what the terms of service are for them. But also in there is my custom hotkeys. So yeah, I think everything else though is just interface items that come native with ZBrush. So this is just so I don't really like to have that tab open. I like to just be working without the the tab on the left. So this UI enables me to do 90% of the stuff I need to do without being over there. Yeah, Gambler, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, go to max resolution and hit DynaMesh. If it takes it down to 4 million, then 4 million is the max. I don't know what the limitations are on that, but the point is, you should be able to DynaMesh down to, I mean, 4 million is so much detail. Like, you can DynaMesh down to 4, subdivide it once, and it'll go close to 16 million. Or I mean, again, it'll depend. I guess it'll be less than times 4, so it'll go close to 16 million. But 15.5 million is probably fine. I don't know how detailed this mesh is. If you're doing just a humanoid mesh, then you should be able to take it down to 3 or 4 or 5, or take it down to 2, subdivide it twice, and then you'll do 2 to 8, 8 to 16, or 8 to 32. I mean, however you want to do it. This is a 27-inch monitor at 2560. That's awesome, Reggie. I hope that's helpful for you. Now the question remains, what do I want to do about this? See what a BPR looks like. So see this leather looks like. Not bad. A little dark, could use a little bit shinier, but not the end of the world. Just lighten up this leather a little bit so I can see it a little bit better. It's probably a little too charcoal right now, but it'll be helpful when I'm trying to just visualize. This is just a regular UI size. I haven't done anything special to shrink it. RGB fill object. Oops. Fill object. These zippers are too distracting. This color, fill object. This is much better. Oops. Now we're cooking. Now we can at least see a little bit. Ugh, come on. This thing should be this material fill object. There we go. No. This is a 2560 by 1440. This is a Cintiq 27-inch. That's the monitor I have right there. Okay. Those top two are going to be rubber. This one's going to be kind of like a cloth. So it's leather on the vest and the Speedo. Basically trying to dissect where the materials are going to be. I'm going to introduce some highlights here. Maybe a little bit of like a deep red might be cool. Yeah, I mean, like, you can also go into preferences and there's a button size thing that I have down to 43. But yeah, and then like these buttons specifically, you pull those, if you pull them out of this menu, they're going to be wide, but if you pull them out of your recents, they're going to be small. So when I'm doing custom preferences, I'll pull them out of there. I think that's going to need to be a hard plastic. It's on that. If you go to the website, it's on the website. I think it's over $2,000 though. Hey, Uruguay, that's awesome. Now this is for a professional project. I'm in a two-man studio. Me and another guy worked on that game there called Disc Jam. This is one of the characters in Disc Jam, although this is a very out there, different skin for him. I'm just wearing just like a deep red. That'd be cool. Kind of like the all black better though. Just all black is kind of sweet. Yeah, he's missing a leg. Amputee. Do the nibs wear on the Cintiq? You know, I switched it up with that. I have not had a lot of. I just got rid of my old Cintiq I had for years, and I only changed one nib, and then I used it for years, and then I pulled the nib out right before I sold it, and I tested to see against a brand new nib, and it didn't have any wear at all. But I use the felt nib. This is the felt. Like there's the kind of lighter. I don't know if you can see there, but it's the lighter shade one that has a little bit of like a roughness to it. So it's like it feels a little bit more cloth-like on the surface of the monitor. So I don't know. That might be different because the hard plastic ones probably wear down. But yeah, spaghetti nib. Yeah. Yeah, the felt nib just feels great. It just feels like it's, I don't know what it is, the tactile feel of it, I really like a lot. The main issue I'm having right now is that I know that this is going to be mostly black. And I need to break it up a little bit. Probably do these the color of that metal. Yeah, felt nib's great. Laminating paper on the tablet. That's interesting. I never heard of that. There's this artist. God, what's his name? Darken with 2 A's. I think that's what his name is. Well, I recommend working on the Cintiq because looking at what the strokes you're putting down is preferable for me. You know, when I was looking up and working on a tablet at my waist, I didn't feel like I could get my strokes where I want to. Especially like the main thing is like, well, this one doesn't work as well because it's so big. But swinging the Cintiq around so you could hit those lines is a big reason I recommend one. The 1080 is a lot more easy because it has like this rotation built into the stand. The 27-inch is too bulky and the stand is like does not allow for rotation, so you got to like rely on the application to allow you to swing it around. So this guy Darken, gosh, where is this? review. He reviews the tablet here, and he recommends a couple different covers that cover the Cintiq that he uses. I personally have not. I had like the last Cintiq was the 1080 I had, and I had it for years and years. I mean, shoot, I got it like 6-7 years ago. It was like right. I don't know. It was long. It was a while back. And when I got it, I basically after all those years, I scratched it like maybe once, maybe twice. There's like 1 or 2 scratches on it. You know, scratching. I'm very particular about because I love this monitor. I don't want to ever scratch it. But you know, it will happen, and you want to try and protect it if you can. But it's just normal wear and tear. You don't want to kill yourself over it. I'm gonna take this offline because I'm not so sure which direction I want to go with this breaking up this color. I mean, like, I want them to be like all black, but for all of these materials to read as different materials, there's gonna need to be some separation. And I'm just not exactly sure where I'm gonna go with it just yet. I like the whole red on black thing a lot, but if I can just maintain the uniform black leather look with accents here and there, I think what I'll probably end up doing is like painting. I want to do a big stitch work back here. Actually, that might be a good thing to do right now. Let's do that. See if I can get a good bear roaring. That's a good one. Characters, Stanton, alphas. So I'm gonna go up to this thing. Turn all the coloring off now. basically want to do like a patch on his back. Key mesh single poly, hold control, that'll bring the poly off of it. Split hidden. Yeah. Yes, he's all sewn up. Yeah, see the little cap there? Doctors did a great job sewing him up. This is actually a pretty nifty little technique. I'm a fan of this one. Oops. Brush, reset all brushes. Oh god, what have I done? No! Yeah, that was about time that happened. Let's fire it back up. Yeah. I think I saved just before that though, luckily. I did indeed. Auto save. Every time. Okay. There we go. Give a little thickness to this. Subdivide a few times. Delete lower. Just get a decent shape here. Yeah, as soon as you see it acting a little squirrely, it's a good time to save, because it's like, sometimes it'll warn you. You'll be like, hey, guess what, I'm about to crash. I have backface masking on, don't I? Apparently not. Turn on backface mask, that'll allow me to paint just these back polys here. I'll leave the other ones alone. To have like a little crest-like feel to it. Okay. Icon characters, Stanton, alphas, bear. It was wishful thinking that I was going to be able to use this alpha without editing it, but just wanted to give it a shot. I'll have to edit this. For this to work, you want to like treat it like an alpha, not as like painted geo. But I think what I'll probably do is create a 3D version of this, or at least take this alpha into Photoshop, and then paint out the white areas so that the nose of the thing comes out. Maybe it's best to just use it as a guide and sculpt it myself. But I think what I'll probably do is like put a crazy looking bear roaring on a patch on his back, and then put some stitching around it as well. What would I do if I had my model ZRemeshed, sculpted some time, and noticed you didn't have symmetry on? Mirror and weld isn't working with ZRemesh, right? No, mirror and weld would work. That happens to everybody. That happens to me all the time. All of a sudden, like, oh, I forgot to do the dang. But there's sometimes mirror and weld will work based on, is your mesh centered about the world axis origin? That is to say, like, is 0 of your world, is your mesh in between that? Like if your mesh is off to the side, mirror and weld will move it over to the other side. But mirror and weld works with everything. With subdivision surfaces, you would have to go down to your lowest subdivision, mirror and weld. You'd have to. That's tricky. You'd have to go down your lowest subdivision, bake up the or delete the highest resolution detail, go to the highest subdivision on a duplicate, delete the lowest subdivision level, mirror and weld both, and then project your way back up the way I was doing before. See if I can do a demo here, if I can demonstrate how to do that. And these are subdivisions, or not subdivisions. So yeah, I've got some detail, then I accidentally, like say this, let's make this symmetrical real fast. This is symmetrical now. if it has some detail there. And then I've begun sculpting over here, and now I want to be over there. Can't do mirror and weld because of the subdivision levels. So I would duplicate this off twice and keep this one around just for safekeeping. This will be, I'll delete lower, mirror and weld. Then I'll go to my low one, delete higher, mirror and weld. And now both of these two, the low and the high, are mirrored. Subdivide, project all. Subdivide, project all, subdivide, project all, subdivide, project all. And then eventually I'll just project all until I get to the place where my high is. Which is only actually 10,000. That's how you would do that. And if you can't reach the geo, you can always paint more so that it reaches it. You could also increase your distance so it finds it all. And then boom, you get the same too. Looks like it's got some more finding to do. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you got some work to do there, but projecting, like getting projecting in your wheelhouse is really important for correcting mistakes like that. It happens to me all the time. I'm like, oh gosh. Okay, let's get this jacket worked on some more. Probably do some loops. I've been sculpting, I don't even remember when I started. Never professionally though. I've only ever, this jam is the first game I've been doing it professionally. I'm trying to find the first time I ever dug in, really. ZBrush 3.5 was about when I started. So 2012, about 5-6 years ago maybe. Looks like this came out in like 2010. So about 7 years I've been hobby sculpting, and professionally I've been doing professional art only, you know, that's all very recent. That's only happened as recently as a year or two professionally. Or about probably 2 to 3 years professionally now. I've lost track of time a little bit. Let's make some loops for this neck here. I'm gonna do key mesh poly loop. I'm just eyeballing these loops a little bit because I don't really know how far off I'm going to want them. Yeah, I do actually have some early sculpts that look like garbage. Let me take a little look into that. Excuse me. Yeah, the thing to keep in mind is that, you know, is that it takes a lot of blowing it to get to the point where like things start looking good. Stand ZBrush. Let me just save this guy before I crash ZBrush again. Start opening some Z tools here from past works. I mean, shoot. I'm trying to find the early days. The 07 days. It wasn't me. Okay, here's back in 2011 days. Found some stuff. Yeah, this is me trying to do a creature in the very beginning. Eyes obviously didn't work out all that much. That's another, let's see how, a little bit farther along there. Still scared to sculpt it. I'm still doing Z polys. Never even got to sculpting, I don't think. I finally started skinning it a little bit. You know, didn't make it all that far, clearly. That was an early model for a football player. That was like a low resolution base mesh to start sculpting a football player on. Didn't make it very far there, obviously. Oh yeah, here's like the you can see the elbows all in the wrong place, the bicep. I mean, it's fake anatomy, sure, but the whole thing was just a disaster. This one was farther along of that base mesh, but like, I mean, look, this is, you know, really robotic shaped and blocky and weird looking and stylized but bad. Never really got anywhere with it. You know, it takes a while to start finding the things that just aren't working. This was the mesh that I worked along with Mike Pavlovich did a, God, the proportions are so bad. Mike Pavlovich did a introduction video and I sat there alongside it and sculpted with him so that I could just see how he was doing things and try to emulate it. And this actually got me pretty far along. Like I made some progress here doing this. Obviously a lot of issues with this mesh, a ton of issues with this mesh, but I did make progress and I started to pick up the anatomy a little bit better, and you know, it's exaggerated, but I started here's the sculpt that's from. One of our fellow ZBrush instructors released this video about 7 or 8 years ago, and I got it, and that's what I was going to use to learn ZBrush with, and that's like basically what I did. I sat there and just tried to sculpt as he sculpted, and you know, it helped a lot. I mean, I got, obviously it's not very good, but it got me a lot closer to doing what I needed to be doing. So, you know, the more I worked off of those, the better I got. This guy here. But yeah, I mean, like, hopefully it will. Marius, look at some of this older. I mean, these are some of my earlier stuff, and you know, everybody starts someplace. This is a really bad model for a lot of reasons. I had to scrap this one because this one's not usable at all. You know, trying to experiment here with like super exaggerated, but it's a good example of the fact that you can't go exaggerated until you understand realistic. Otherwise, the exaggeration is just completely busted. You know, there's a fat guy I wanted to do, you know, and that got a little bit better. Still some work to be done here, but I think that the fat guy was coming along a little bit. No, not a terrible attempt, but it's, you know, it gets better with time, you know. And I started building a Guile Street Fighter. I really wanted to get a Guile sculpture in place, and I hacked away at it a bunch. But I finally got to the point where like I was making stuff like this, and you know, now that I see this, I'm seeing a lot of issues with his arms, and it's going after that stylized look, but still hasn't nailed it quite yet because there's a lot of, you know, discrepancy here. But you know, the right arm I think is coming along okay, and this is some of my like early stuff that started kind of having some results. Like the legs are okay, they're a little bit disproportional. His torso is way bigger than his bottom half, I'm noticing. These are all things that, staring at this so much, I never quite got to the point where I understood. Should be a little bit obvious right there what the situation is. You know, all this stuff really helps you kind of figure out. Gosh, look how bad that is. You know, but it all starts someplace. You know, I think this is an older one that I was just trying to test muscles with. Trying to build it off of a mannequin. I was trying to go for that Street Fighter look that was, you know, somewhat popular, where it's like Joe Mad Street Fighter look, where it's like the top half was twice as big as the bottom half. This was Wolverine after he just had to kill somebody, but he's in like street clothes and he's leaning against a tree smoking a cigar. You know, these are all things that like I just had big ideas. They never amounted into anything. Yeah, but they were getting better and better and better. And you know, eventually I started getting to the point where I was pretty happy with what I was doing. This is trying to do like a little mini Ned Stark. Not much of a likeness there, but you know, I want to do like a little tabletop piece Ned Stark, and like this one started getting, they started getting a little bit better, right? Like I was pretty proud of. That's probably when I made that cowl with the wolf's head. That was probably the best thing I'd ever made at that point. You know, it bits into the cloth okay, and it wraps around his head, and it's got that sort of Sean Bean haircut and look. I'm just pretty happy with how this turned out, all things considered. You know, I was still pretty new to things and filling out the boots and, you know, doing a lot of the completed pieces, getting the knot right on the belt. You know, the hand of the king right there. I think that came out pretty good. So there's a lot of pieces here that I'm pretty proud. And again, like there's some stuff here that didn't quite pan out. The cloth and the legs is a little bit too baggy and ridiculous. But you know, for like an amateur hobbyist, I started getting there. You know, I started getting a little bit of progress, and that's really kind of the key thing, is just making progress and getting better and getting better. You know, the short little like toy-sized proportions made more sense because I kind of nailed some of the realism first, and then was able to exaggerate it. You know, the oversized feet, and like I wanted to do like a bunch of mini versions of Game of Thrones characters. This was my first one, and being a total hobbyist, and I was pretty proud of where that ended up. when you started sculpting, did you watch some tutorials or learn all by yourself? I watched tutorials and try to do them side by side. So I would have a tutorial, I would watch their brush strokes, I'd press pause, and I would start trying to mimic it. And that's how I just started kind of getting a feel for things. And then I would try things on my own without any reference. They would come out not so great. Then I would try things with reference. They would become a little bit better. And I try to close that gap of using reference versus not using reference. And, you know, over time we just made progress. Yeah, so I think that's, you know, a sufficient walk down memory lane. Oh, I'd love this one to work out. I want to finish. I'm doing an earthworm gym that I want to do and get 3D printed and do a proper earthworm gym statue. It's got to be like him holding his gun. Yeah. You know, I would coil the neck all up in there the way earthworm gym is. And, you know, just do the proper earthworm gym treatment. I haven't looked at these in so long. There's the earthworm gym pistol. Man, it makes me want to get back to these. Yeah, so that's what it was gonna be. Is like him sitting there. Yeah, I got the big old body and the suit, and just gotta get it all set up. But yeah, so that's kind of. That's a look there. It's a look-see at the things. So yeah, it just takes time, you know. Just trying to find. I'm gonna restart ZBrush so I can get the get back to the piece I was working on there. But yeah, thanks, Doug. Yeah, it's just, you know, it's something that I'm not ashamed of because it was really bad, you know, and I knew I knew I had a lot of learning to do, and just like when you're working on a new model, you got to remember that when you're working on a new model or a new drawing, it's going to look bad for a long time before it starts looking good. And like when I'm building a skeleton, it's like it took me a long. One of the best things I learned how to do is I learned how to look past the crappy parts, and then when things were really bad, I was able to forgive myself and not get annoyed, and, you know, just keep moving forward. And that didn't come overnight. Like, that took me a while. Then it's like, okay, then like things start looking pretty good, and you start being able to figure out why they look good. And you start being able to kind of dig into, okay, this looks good because like I focused on that particular thing, and that ended up being a successful thing to look at and focus on. And then like you start making good habits, and in making good habits out of things, it all starts working out from that point on. If that makes sense. So I missed that. A little BPR render here. Yeah, it's not bad. I'm getting there with him. Let's do the super reflective material. Get some mirror reflective material. Here we go. Now we're talking. I have not made tutorials, but I'll tell you, the guy to look at is another one of our instructors here. If you want to learn on YouTube, start with this guy. His intro to ZBrush stuff it's a good pace, it's really helpful, and he's just an excellent tutor. Like I said, I always like to share Michael's stuff because he's the one I learned pretty much everything from him in this application, and that was before I had the luxury of meeting him in our, you know, ZBrush instructor thing. you know, this is all when I was just an engineer trying to learn how to do art, and that's the stuff I found, and I made one of my bosses at work get me that material, and I started learning. Okay, I think I'm going to come back to this boot next week. I have some decisions to make here that I'm going to have to do offline about how I want this guy to actually look in terms of color, armor, etc. Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by today. Yeah, the streams are non-stop. I'm going to end a little bit early today. I think this is a good stopping point. Oh yeah, and we're going to paint a nice patch on the back there as well. So yeah, a lot of work to be done still, but I think we're doing some pretty exciting things. I'm excited. Alright guys, I'm going to head off. We had an hour-long dev stream before I did my ZBrush stream, so I'm a little wiped at the moment, and it's time for me to get some lunch and get back to work here. Have a good weekend, guys. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it, Blind Cricket. Got some work to do on it. I'm not sure how I'm going to integrate like leather panels, hard plastic panels, and that's sort of like, you know, the like plates in the front, I think, are also going to be kind of interesting to see how I work out. They're going to need to, you know, have a little bit more utility and function. Right now they're a little bit abstract still. I gotta dig into how they're all going to kind of interlock and behave with each other. So anyway, all right guys, until next time, I will see you next Thursday.